Well, hello, that's me again. Today is October 10th, 2024. It is Thursday. The weekend is, oncoming. But we have to be patient for a little bit longer. Now, what you see in the beginning, it's yet another Patriot PAC-3 being obliterated. It tries desperately, launches two missiles to defend against the incoming Iskander, no use. And what is most importantly, immediately the radar and the command post, which contains obviously not Ukrainian operators, is obliterated. After that, it's just a matter of what kind of the slow drones will come in and just finish off, if really needed to be finished off, considering the amount of shrapnel which flies around all those launchers. By themselves, they have some basic electronics there, and they are basically launch containers. This is not just PAC-3, which is having huge issues, albeit, they try to make the mock-ups to confuse Russian ISR, which is still, doesn't work like that well, actually. And then, of course, Germany sent another IRIS-M, and they got immediately obliterated. So it's just air defense of NATO doesn't do that well against Russian strike weapons, against Rook and Rock, which is the recon fire and recon strike complexes. Just not same league. And I'm not taking this lightly. I've been through this constantly, and you know what, each day you get up, each morning actually, and you look at the news and you just scratch yourself like this and you ask yourself a question: where do I start from? I mean, because what is happening right now is absolute madness, which is of course tied to the general mental situation with the combined West, which is totally tied to US elections, which are kabuki theater. And then we have the situation that Russia said, you know what, enough is enough. And as the latest news, and not only news, the videos are out there, Odessa port is being just, one of the greatest popcorn cooker in the world today. Well, the reason I'm saying it's popcorn, because very simple. Russians had enough with this BS from all those NATO liars and cowards, which are good only hiding behind the backs of the civilians. It's all about the shipping of the so-called corn ships. Of course, they deliver the weaponry, and so in the last 4 days, Russia sunk 3 of them. And it will continue to do so, because, you can take this BS only for so long before you begin to really react. And so in this particular case, I will go and start with a little bit of the sitrep, if you wish. And we will start traditionally with this, which are, of course, the today's, as you can see yourself, October 10 losses of the armed forces of Ukraine. As you can see yourself, there is also one tank today, kind of slow day, I would say, 24 armored vehicles. But look attentively at the UAVs, 205. You see, Russians do not really go around like, thumping their chest. Some of those UAVs basically have been spoofed by the electronic warfare. They fell in the Krasnoyarsk area. Others, which are DP-2, I believe, these American drones. They can fly up to 1,000 kilometers. So, but yeah, U.S. Pentagon also hides behind the backs of civilians, and attacks Russian civilian targets. This is what they're only good at. And so you can see yourself that those latest, one of the PAC-3s and one of the Iris already counted in, +2, but I think so up for today. Today it was more than that. It will go and be counted in the statistics probably for the next day or two. So, and now we're going to our wonderful friend Marat Khairulin, and here is why this whole situation, it's a panic mode in the West. Anybody who says that it is not, they really have to get their, head checked. And have the situation with Terezk. As you can see yourself, boy, there are a lot of things going on in Terezk. So, and as you can see yourself, there basically it's being surrounded. Russians are in the center of the city, and it continues. Basically, Terezk is the matter of time now, and as always, what's left now, the so-called best and brightest of those armed forces of Ukraine and so-called volunteers from the NATO countries, and volunteers, we have to use the quotation marks, they are just running away. So now we have also the situation developing in the Belogorovka, as you can see yourself. It's yesterday, and as you can see yourself, a significant movements. I mean, there are several kilometers advancements in all kinds of the tactical axis, actually, and it's pretty much speaks for itself. And now what is happening in Kursk, Mr. Syrsky have been called on there because obviously there is a crisis of the unimaginable proportion for them, and if it hasn't been enough with them, well, it's actually NATO. This is NATO force. Ukraine is a NATO force. We're losing there what is amounts to Army Corps. Yesterday it was 22,000 or 21,500 or 350. Today probably even more, 22,000 plus. So they managed to lose the best and the brightest, so to speak, and brightest I'm using, of course, with the caveat. They're primarily, I mean, there are facts now of children being executed by them. So yeah, this is the type of NATO military. That's what they are. And anybody who tries to, just pull the fingers here explaining that, oh no, we didn't want them to do this. Well, yeah, you did. And so it's all about the situation with the not only panic and desperation, it is the fact of that for them, Ukrainians, which they throw into the meat grinder, and Slavic people in general, they're subhumans. As I already stated, bring me any American general and try to, I would really have fun listening to him, trying to explain to me that they know we don't treat Slavs as subhumans. Yes, you do. Actually, most of the diplomatic corps, actually, of the United States and Western countries also treats Slavs, and especially Russians, as subhumans. Old habits die, hard, so, and sometimes, what you look at is if somebody is giving you example of this or that political leader who has common sense or altogether classy and educated, these are just exceptions which merely confirm the rule. It is like esteemed Ambassador Jack Matlock. The guy is incredible intellect, the outstanding knowledge of Russian language, absolutely beautiful knowledge of the Russian culture. Yeah, he's an exception. Most of them, they're just nut jobs. And let me show you something which, when people talk about how they could have brought it to this, which is, a strategic catastrophe. It is catastrophe across the whole theater of operations in Ukraine. And this is, I'll mind you, it is more than 1,000 kilometer long line of the combat contact. It's a front. This is the largest war in Europe since World War II. And when you look attentively, and now rumor has it that one of the guys who are pushing for the suicide in Kursk was Mr. McFall. Michael McFall is not a bright fellow, as most of those so-called Russian scholars in the United States, because there are very few real Russian scholars in the United States. And Michael McFall, being humanities dumbed-down guy, whose tenure as the U.S. ambassador in Moscow was a catastrophe for all intents and purposes. These are the type of people who see it and plan, make those decisions or have influence on those decisions, and then they go out, and when you look at their backgrounds and they say, how did it happen again? We screwed up. Well, because this is the only thing they can do. They are designed to screw up. It is clockwork of their so-called education. Humanities education in the West is garbage, most of it, from economics to whatever, sociology to whatever. It's trash, basically, because obviously we see how it reflects itself on the social life of the Western societies, which are decomposing now. But People still believe in all this kabuki theater by the morons and immoral people. As I already stated, there are very few moral people in U.S. media, so they always deal with the devil, and many of them, as I already stated, were criminals. But hey, if you think that this is, I'm just somehow repeating ad nauseam, same thing over and over again, here it is. Let me demonstrate you. It's Bundeswehr, guys. Here's the name, this Mr. Freuding, Bundeswehr General Freuding. And he's talking about, as you see yourself 2 days ago, that Bundeswehr General, the German government continues to send behind Ukraine. Sure, it's just a matter of what pose it is. Is it doggy style or is it some kind of different time proposition? I don't know. But sure, Germans themselves being, basically owned from the behind by the United States. But here's the guy. Look at his face. Very little mark of any kind of intellect. And so here they write that Major General Christian Freuding heads the Ukraine Special Staff at the Ministry of Defense. He is observing the situation in the country attacked by Russians with concern, but also with confidence. Okay, sure. At the same time, Freuding emphasizes the German support will continue. And so this guy, when you look at this, and I wrote about this in in my blog, he basically says that no, Kursk was justified. It just didn't work out, but it was justified. Well, if you look at Freuding's background, and I will continue to stress this point, why it is always falling apart. Why it never works out for the combined West, for example, United States military, let alone NATO military, which is conducting now it's yearly, it's nothing special, it's the nuclear exercise, the air forces fly and pretend that they attack Russia. Good luck with them, but still. And here is... let me see, where's his Freuding CV? Well, yeah, I didn't need to show you his CV, just know that out of his basically military and educational credentials, he has the PhD in political science. There you go. Do you expect general with PhD in political science to perform well? I don't think so. The guy commanded staff and planning office of the staff of the Ministry of Defense of Germany. There you go. It's like, would you go and get your surgery done by the janitor? Of course not. But here we are. And this is 90% of the, basically those elites, military political elites, which have no clue what are they doing because they don't have capability. Remember, last video I demonstrated to you that even parameters, the U.S. Army War College writes about the situation with the STEM. And the STEM combined, which is STEM applied to the military sciences and operational art and operational planning, when you have most of your people going through the ROTC or officer candidate school with such degree as literature, for example, so let me demonstrate to you. So there you go. Of course, Atlantic, we know it's the Neocon Central, there's an Applebaum is there, but in Atlantic a few days ago, let me see, it's September 30th, so 10 days ago. Oh, the Atlantic, the abandonment of Ukraine, the American strategy in Ukraine is slowly bleeding the nation and its people to death. It's written by two former Marines, Karl Marlantes, he's a very old guy, he was in Vietnam, and Elliot Ackerman. So in both cases, these are the guys who never won anything in their lives. They have been defeated across the board from Vietnam to Afghanistan, and so here we have those people who go in and, well, begin to make those conclusions, which are, of course, funny. So they have this an example. Obviously, practically any moron will understand the tactical example that the HIMARS is the long-range rocket artillery. A year ago, HIMARS was the most in-demand system on the battlefield. Now it has a success rate of less than 10% because of Russian innovation in electronic warfare. And they talk about literally an arms race. Yeah, it is, but it's not about Ukraine. It's about the United States, which completely lost it. And I will explain to you why these guys are beyond the point of salvation, despite the fact probably they are very courageous people. I'm not saying that they are cowards or anything, no. But look at this. Here they talk about that. The war in Ukraine is at risk of being lost. Actually, it has been lost, but yeah, sure. Not because the Russians are winning, but because Ukraine's allies have not allowed them to win. Yeah, this is one of the most harebrained scheme constructs which they need to. It's coping. Yeah, so they are not complete idiots, those people who wrote this piece. If encourage Ukrainians to fight while failing to give them the tools they need for victory, history will sure conclude that the Russians weren't the only ones who committed crimes against Ukraine. Well, and here is the point. They do not understand what victory is, and those people, these two particularly. And I would love to talk to them if they will ever condescend and, step down to talking to me for these former Marines. But here's the problem. Why they continue to write, apart from the fact that it is obviously the neocon central. Well, here it is. I'm not saying that they're cowards of anything. No, far from it. Here's, for example, Elliot Ackerman. He is the guy who was, he is Marine. He liked the team leader. He was in the Battle of Fallujah. I mean, you mean destruction of Fallujah primarily. He was the team leader of some special forces, and yeah, we know it's. However, look attentively at his background. And Ackerman studied literature and history in Tufts University, where he also joined Naval ROTC Marine Corps option. Red flags immediately coming up, so you can think that you can get some kind of the decent education, military education on ROTC. Well, I don't know. He graduated summa cum laude in Phi Beta Kappa, whatever. I'm sick and tired of reading all those Phi Beta, Alpha, whatever, Gamma, and crap about this. He holds a master's degree in international affairs from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. Oh yeah, the guy was wounded, he fought, and he's definitely not a coward. He's a fair, courageous man. The problem is, neither he nor his buddy from United States Marine Corps, and yeah, I'm ready to talk to the guy, and obviously, I don't think so he has enough guts to talk, because the only thing he can grasp is some tactical realities. Operationally, you know what, with degree, even in literature, and in international relations, I don't even understand. I don't think so. He has even the toolkit to basically grasp what is happening operationally or strategically. And I'm talking not some kind of the media grasp. I'm talking the numerical and COFM type grasping, which of course also involves operational art. They do not teach that in ROTC. They do not teach those things unless, of course, you have a very specific background and you go through all those schools. And yeah, sure, the guy is courageous, no doubt about it. But you know what? When people of this caliber begin to, basically make the strategic amateurs. Operationally and strategically, these are amateurs. They are probably good tactically. They can lead again, as I already stated, the team. They simply will not understand what is going on, and they don't, because they still continue to spew this absolute amateurist military BS. And yeah, sure, let them kind of, do it. And if you look attentively at this Freuding general, then you look at this Elliot Ackerman guy, what do you expect? These are the types of people who continue to provide all kinds of the, BS to, it is obviously has a therapeutic thing, but it is coping. But I read my lips. And I can tell it to any American generals. United States is not in the same league militarily when it comes to combined arms operations, period. And they have to live with this situation. They have to accept this reality, apart from the technological reality, and I am talking the serious technological reality. I'm talking about the tactical, technical capabilities which project themselves not just tactically, which most of the people think they can understand. Still, they will not. I mean, they will know how, they will not know why. But they also project themselves on the operational strategic levels where the real victories are won. They are never won on the tactical level. So, but there you go. Can you imagine me talking with, some guy with the degree in literature? And this is the guy, yeah, he's courageous. Yeah, there are many cases of when people without education would take, unlike it is the BS which is written on the about the Red Army. There are people who were sergeants, who were just, all those corporals who took, command when the whole officer corps, command corps will kill up to the company level. And they did well, but this is specific tactical situation. Do they understand how operations are planned? No. I can tell you immediately, Mr. Ackerman have no idea. What he thinks are operations, talking about some tactical movements of some tactical units or formations or elements of the larger, higher tactical, let alone operational formations, maybe. How operational are, they have no clue. And of course, they absolutely out of this, including with all those degrees, with the fraudulent U.S. diplomatic and international relations, degree meals. They think that they understand the power balance and how it is formed. They don't. They don't. It is all built around the fraudulent indices about fraudulent, basically delusional things. As we know, for example, which is the case today with the economy of the combined West. And this is basically explanation of why things do not go well. Then you add here what is, of course, this, which is Robert Fico, who survived the attempt on the assassination. He talks about journalists, and he talks about these people who go into journalists. They are bloodthirsty bastards, absolutely. As I already stated, maybe they will understand, at least in some first approximation in New York Times or Washington Post or CNN, that they are war criminals. Their editorial boards are war criminals. And so there you go. And he says, from the first day when the results of the parliamentary elections came in, you went against us like bloodthirsty bastards from morning to night, Fico said, dismissing any notion of a government crisis. Do you read your articles after you've written them? I don't think you do. It's pure hate. You are possessed by devil. I agree. I don't like Mr. Trump. I will still vote for him because, voting for Harris is it's basically finishing off the rest of what's left of the America. But the point, not that Trump will do better, but those things aside, who tried to assassinate him twice? Guess what? I can tell you, American media. They are the main driver of this hatred. They are the main driver of this inhumane attitude towards people. You are CNN, you are Washington Post, you are New York Times. Many of you will be charged with war crimes for promoting what is happening right now in Ukraine. And those morons who only saw all those kabuki theater of beating the crap out of the 5-year-old kid in Iraq, or actually thinking that, oh yeah, we saw a couple of mujahids, let's call close air support. Wow, such a, operational art, So these people who never saw anything like this, they have no grasp of what they actually accomplished, they helped to accomplish. They took the country as per Mr. Legin's, basically doctrine, and threw it at the concrete wall, which is Russia. Guess what? We are probably 100%. We have the number of killed in 1 million plus. We have millions of maimed, people. We have Ukraine, which doesn't exist as a state anymore. And there you go. But that's the accomplishment. That's the Western media. All of you, the Times of London, the most vile creatures there, the Guardian, these are the war criminals and absolutely immoral, genocidal maniacs. That's who they are. That's what they produce. If you look at Boris Johnson or whatever comes out of the anus of the Oxford humanities degrees. So that's the type of the people. And so when they, it comes down to the such of the ridiculousness that today Mr. Ryabkov, first deputy of the Russian foreign minister, comes out and he says, you know what, they just lied. That's the only thing which a political and media establishment, military establishment in the West does. And he talks about Trump. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov has denied a claim that Moscow, Beijing, and Washington were at one point close to reaching a denuclearization agreement. A claim made earlier this week by former US President Donald Trump. No, that is not true. It is well known that attempts by Trump administration to put a Chinese delegation at the negotiation table with us, Russia and the US, did not end in a success, the official said on Thursday, which is true. Any hypothetical nuclear reduction talks will have to involve nuclear allies of the United States, meaning the UK and the French Republic, which naturally showed no desire to join negotiations too, Ryabkov added. But hey, Mr. Trump, Kamala Harris lies all the time, or even when she is not speaking, she still lies. I mean, her existence as the viable candidate for the post of the President of the United States, it's already a first indication to what degree America fell. And so they lie. That's the only thing they know. They lie constantly. They have no skills not to lie. Because, as I already stated, American system of the from school to let alone higher education in those humanities, all those literatures, all those sociologies, all those histories is a fraud. It has been a fraud for a long time now. And again, those subjects, those things are easy. People go there to get credentials, to get some formal degree. And they produce those, famous Mencken's morons with the PhDs, because they are. Look at Michael McFaul. Again, as already stated, the guy is the certified clown with zero skills in anything. And so they have now, and the coping continues. Here's the guy. I mean, that is just downright funny. He pens the article in The Hill. It's a bargaining stage, obviously, of the Kubler-Ross model. And Thomas Graham, I will explain who Thomas Graham is. As the US considers its next step in the Russia-Ukraine war, it is worth remembering that wars rarely end with moral clarity, with the aggressor state justly punished for its crimes. Well, the last one ended. World War II, it was called the largest one in human history, but obviously Mr. Graham doesn't know things. This is the reality that the US and its allies in Ukraine are likely to face in any effort to resolve the ongoing conflict. I have news for him. United States and allies have no resources and have nothing which can resolve it because they lost economic and arms race. For some time now it has been obvious that Kiev is not going to hold a victory parade in Moscow. Sure, only in the wet dreams of the morons from Washington it can happen, and in Kiev, who basically, sold the cornucopia of BS to those, American diplomats and American military. And so they say Vladimir Putin is not going to be hauled off to the Hague to face a war crimes tribunal. Indeed, as most Western governments now acknowledge privately, if not publicly, Ukraine is not likely to drive Russian forces from all the Ukrainian land they have seized since 2014. So he continues. And it's coping, it's butthurt. The guy is a sore loser, which most of them in Council on Foreign Relations are, because they are incompetent hacks. And so he said, the hard truth is that whenever the fighting stops, Russia will undoubtedly occupy some Ukrainian territory, and likely a sizable amount. Putin will spin such an outcome as a victory for Russia, despite the huge cost, in lives and equipment, and many in the Western Ukraine will agree. So the guy obviously is doing hedging, and apart from being absolutely butthurt. But I mean, look at him. He penned this thing, Getting Russia Right. It came out last year and gathered about 7 ratings. That's strange. I already have my latest book in months since it was released, months and a half essentially. Already have several times more. But yeah, and he's talking about as U.S.-Russian relations, blah 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 blah. And here is his CV. Here's the guy. Thomas Graham, I'm Distinguished Fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations. Mr. Fukuyama also was a Distinguished Fellow, so look how much BS he wrote in his life, which never panned out. Actually, when you think about it, whatever anybody ever wrote, including John Mearsheimer, by the way, it never panned out. It's just all crap, basically, which is based on the confabulations and delusions of the grandeur by those people who hid behind the kabuki theater of the American military might and things of this nature. So, and he said, I'm a lecturer on global affairs and political science at Yale University. So there you go. You understand what kind of people come in from the outside to teach the same nincompoops. They are basically procreate ignorance, and they procreate basically inability to think straight. Because, and again, what do you expect from him? I have a BA in Russian Studies from Yale and MA in History and PhD in Political Science from Harvard. He was in Russia in any capacity. The latest was in the 2004. He will not recognize Russia today. But these are precisely people who are stuck in 1990s and the best at 2000s, early 2000s. And they have absolutely, again, average political scientist, be that John Mersheimer, be that any kind of the PhD, be that this guy or this German general with PhD in political science, they don't have toolkit. If you didn't go through the cadre officer training, which is long, arduous, not only physical but academic process, and you do not have STEM, which is the critical for serious military analysis and understanding of the forming of the balance of power from economics, which of course has to be counted not in monetary terms, to obviously the ability to project force or actually achieve main objectives, political objectives of war. We have literally the whole generation of these people who are ignoramuses, and they're useless. With their useless degrees, they write, all kinds of garbage. I mean, and so what do you expect? Will they provide any success? No. They are not managers. They don't know what statesmanship is. They don't know what statescraft is. Average American PhD professor in government doesn't understand what statescraft is. They are grown in a different environment, which is utterly corrupt with the media, utterly corrupt with their self-invented stories, fairy tales they invented about themselves based on what many serious strategic psychologists, which sit, for example, in SVR, for example, Foreign Service Intelligence in Russia, or GU, we used to be a GRU. So you think so Russians don't sit and don't count on this? That is why Mr. Antonov was also recalled by Russia, not fired. They again lie. The American military talks about that Mr. Antonov is fired. He was not fired. He was withdrawn from the United States because, considering the fact of the mental state of this country, which is my country, there are all kinds of dangers, including for the life of this ambassador, especially on the verge of the US elections, which are, I don't know, United States pretty much done as the leader of the free world. They don't know it yet, some do. And that is why they write this garbage and they try to sell this BS to people who, regular Americans, most of them are very decent folks. And I love them, so I have my, friends, I have my neighbors, wonderful people. They didn't deserve to be actually subjected to what is already happening and what is coming. But you cannot have it any other way when your whole thing is corrupted, top, bottom. And what do? You wait for it to decompose. So, and that's my word for you today, guys. And I'm not sure I will be able to do anything probably until Sunday, pardon me. So, but this is my word for you today. And unless something really urgent happens, then I probably will pop up here and there. But, just as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on a Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. And I'll talk to you later, guys, and have a nice rest of the week. Bye-bye.